Good morning, listeners. I hope you're all feeling bright-eyed and jittery and ready for today's edition of Technology Blows, a techno-pessimist podcast hosted by me, amateur dilettante Dan Slimman, where we tell you all about how your favorite technologies ended up being so incredibly shitty. Welcome. Today I'm joined by an absolute real one, my good friend, Xiao Yu. Xiao, how's things for you today in beautiful Portland, Oregon?
It's actually surprisingly sunny this week and amazing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and also there's Portland, so there's espresso coffee everywhere, and I just got myself a latte to hear about today's episode, which we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're so when I contacted you about being on the show and asked, I was like, "Do you have a decent mic, or I can ship you a mic if you need a mic?" And you were like, "Well, let me see if there's a recording studio nearby somewhere, right?" And it turns out there's like within blocks of your house, there's a coffee shop slash recording studio.
Yeah, I mean, it's Portland, so put a cup of coffee on it, I guess, is the new slogan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like the most Portland fucking thing I've ever heard, Shao. And the coffee's good there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing what you can do with the just a espresso machine inside a food cart pod. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty swank setup. They have like these recording studios and then a food car pod outside. So you can get
Oh,
all
hell yeah.
your mouth noises inside your recordings if you want.
Thank you. Thank you in advance on behalf of my listeners. And it's very appropriate that you're at a coffee shop slash podcasting studio in Portland because today we're talking about Keurig. Keurig is a company that makes coffee brewers which brew a single cup of coffee at a time from a little single serving disposable pod. It offers consumers a marginal increase in convenience in exchange for horrific ecological damage, which is just the American way, right? That's just, love it or leave it, right, Shao?
Yeah, you gotta get the place worse than where you started from.
That's
You know.
that's right. That's right. It's called manifest destiny.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you make coffee at home?
Uh, I mean, I have a drip brewer. You grind up some coffee, you put a little paper filter, the machine pours some hot water, and you're done. I mean, it seems pretty simple.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you're able to hold down a job. You're able to like that doesn't take all of your time all day just making coffee.
Luckily, I have one of these coffee machines where you press one button and you don't actually pour the water on there constantly, as some baristas do here.
Ex- Exactly, exactly. Mine's the same. I do the same thing. I have I don't remember what brand mine is, but it's got like a little filter. It's got a permanent filter, so I don't have to use the paper ones. But otherwise, it's the same. And incidentally, it's the only clock in my office the only clock in my kitchen that works reliably. There's a clock. There's like three clocks in my kitchen, but that's the only one that holds the correct time, which is really cool.
I wish I could say the same about my coffee machine. It is perpetually on a different time because it doesn't even flash, it just shows a different time. I don't know why.
It's on Folgers time. It's a whole other state of mind, Shao. You got to get into it.
Yeah, it's always seven something.
Yeah. So the podcast studio, they probably got pour over, they got fancy coffee drinks and stuff there because there's like at least a dozen ways. Several dozen ways to make coffee, right? And we've been making coffee
Yeah.
as a species for like 600 years. We figured out all the ways to make coffee, or so we thought.
Right, and I mean, I don't want to get kicked out of Portland for making fun of fancy coffee or anything, but like, they do taste better. I will say, like, a
Yeah.
nice pour over with a
Oh
single
yeah.
origin, like, I can enjoy that, but also, I'm also fine with re-microwaving my coffee because
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to go make another cup.
There's no shame in that. You're probably not that. I mean, there's probably some people in Portland who don't even drink coffee. So we know how to make coffee and coffee. So all right, coffee comes from originally from northeastern Africa and the Middle East. So in Ethiopia, coffee was being cultivated by the 1300s, and by the 1400s, it was in Yemen being cultivated. People in Yemen were known to drink it in order to like stay alert for evening prayer. You gotta, they're gonna be talking about God a lot to you. You're gonna need a little bit of a pick me up, I think.
So from the very start, coffee is, to force you to do stuff for the man.
That's right.
However you define the man.
That's right. So the man is Allah sometimes, but either way, you're gonna need to drink some coffee. Yeah, that's a great point. I certainly drink it for that reason, and so then later we coffee spread out to the from the Middle East, spread out to Europe and the rest of the world through the magic of colonialism, which brought us all this lovely bean juice to drink, and like I said, there are lots and lots of ways to make coffee, but for our purposes today, we're most interested in the use of electricity to make coffee. And so the first occurrence of that is in the early 1900s. We get the invention of the electric percolator. Have you ever used a percolator?
Yeah, that's the thing you put on a stovetop and it
Exactly.
like bubbles water up, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a big coffee pot with an electric. Well, the electric one you put some heat at the bottom, and the electric one uses an electric heating element at the bottom built into the base, right? And so the heating element is right under a tube with a sort of like inverted funnel at the bottom of it. So when it boils the water at the bottom, the steam bubbles go up into the funnel and push water up through the tube, and it gets all the way of the bubbles push the water all the way to the top of the percolator, and they go perk 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 against the roof of the coffee pot. Hence the name percolator. Perks. It's a perk. It's a cute name. It's a percolator. It makes your coffee go perk perk perk.
Yeah. I'm assuming the regular non-electric version has been used for ages for this, or
Yeah,
did they
yeah.
invent this technique with like they're
No,
like, oh, we can use electricity.
we can use electric. Right. It's just for the heating part, right? So, but I think
Yeah.
they've been using percolators not that much longer. I know like Old West, and if you needed to make coffee in the Old West, you'd use a percolator, but it'd be a stovetop percolator.
Hmm.
It wasn't can't have been too much before that because you need pretty precise machining techniques to make it work
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. That all that good steam has to stay in there and not into your face when you're
Right.
doing this.
I mean that'll wake you up.
Yeah.
So yeah, the water hits the roof, drips back down, and then it goes back. It cycles around through this tube, right? And so when it goes from making this perk 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 to into starting to like gurgle, then it means all the water's all hot, and the coffee's ready to go. Now, my in-laws use an electric percolator that I think they've had since the 1970s, and they can make pretty good coffee in it. But when I use the coffee comes out bitter and gross. I think I'm not stopping it soon enough. I don't know. They have some trick that they won't tell me, or they don't know that they're doing. But anyway, because the problem with percolators is that like the coffee can go through multiple cycles of heating, rising, and then dripping back down, back through the grounds, and then it gets heated up again and goes back, right? So like a lot of the beans get over extracted, and that makes the coffee bitter, right?
I remember I used to own a stovetop percolator and I had the same problem. Like
Yeah,
I could never figure out like when you stop it. And
yeah,
it's like connected to the part where the coffee bean grounds are, the metal part of the percolator, so it always feels like I'm burning it no matter what I'm doing. Yeah, very
because you kind of
complicated.
are. Yeah, so we were done with that. By 1972, we were like, this sucks. We're not doing this anymore, and that's when we get the first electric drip brewer, which was a brand called. Do you know what the first brand of electric coffee brewer is? It's still around.
Uh, I is it like Dr. Brew or some
Oh,
stupid
you're
like
so
that?
close. You're so close. It's he didn't go to medical school. He didn't go to yeah, he dropped out of medical school, so he never got doctor. Instead, we just call him Mr. Coffee. They should have called it Dr. Coffee. It's not like they actually had to prove he was a doctor. Why not people were going to trust coffee
Yeah.
from Dr. Coffee more than Mr. Coffee?
I mean, this was probably around the time when doctors were prescribing you cocaine and shit, right? So,
That's
like,
true.
why not
That's
Dr.
true.
Coffee?
Yeah, Dr. Coffee is comparatively responsible. Yeah, well, I think we were up to laudanum by 1972. Anyway, so Mr. Coffee solves the uneven brewing problem we were just talking about because you just have one reservoir for clean water and then you heat that up and then it drips down one time through the grounds, so that you're not like reheating back up partially brewed coffee, and so that's really good. You get much better coffee at home. You get a much more even brew. Now the thing though is, so percolator's not fast. Neither is the Mr. Coffee. It takes a while. It's more convenient. You get pretty good coffee, but it's not fast, right? It still takes about 10 minutes to brew a pot of coffee with a drip machine. And then you got to clean out the chamber, you got to wash the carafe, you got to do all this work. But people still do it and they don't mind doing it because they get to have coffee at the end. Which is pretty good,
Yeah, I mean, none of that seems really all that difficult, to be honest. Like, it's coffee. It's
right?
like, you don't need to, like, deep clean it.
I do actually occasionally, like once, like a couple times a year, I actually like run vinegar and water, like white vinegar, through my coffee machine and then rinse it out a bunch of times just to like descale it. Right, but that's
Right, but I
extra.
mean, like, in between, like, making pots of coffee, like,
Yes,
just a little soap and water and you're good. You're not, like,
it's not so
spending,
bad.
like, yeah. So, does
It's
not seem like something that needs a lot of improvement, to be honest.
You know what? Maybe you're right, Xiao. Uh, and then sort of in parallel to this home coffee making technology, we also see the development of commercial coffee dispensers, like coffee vending machines. The first of these was a machine called the Quick Cafe, spelled of course KWIKKAFE. Because if you're selling a product, you can't use the letter Q; it's illegal.
Yeah, how are
And
you
the
going to get that domain name otherwise?
How are you going to get that domain name on the 1965 internet? People will know. Quick Cafe, that's nothing. Yeah, and so these vending machines can make coffee in like 5 seconds, but it's instant coffee. Yeah.
That's why they always taste terrible.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's instant coffee is coffee that's been brewed and then dehydrated after it's been brewed. So you just add hot water and bam, you have coffee. But the problem is it tastes like gutter piss. Like nobody drinks instant coffee for their enjoyment. It's the soylent powder of coffee.
Yeah, I will say they are nice backpacking, but that is
Sure.
probably the only time I've ever enjoyed instant coffee.
Yeah. That's the exact use case, or it's like backpacking. The military is a great place for instant coffee. If you need to go far and you don't want to lug a bunch of beans with you, but you need coffee, that's what instant coffee is for. I don't know why you would put it in a vending machine. I don't know why you would buy it from a vending machine, but that's how they work. So okay, so since the 1970s, Mr. Coffee's coming onto the scene, and then there's a man named Robert P. Stiller, known to his friends as Bob Stiller. Bob Stiller is a businessman who later earned the honor of being the namesake of the Robert P. Stiller School of Business at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. You've been to Burlington, right? You've been
Yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah.
Burlington's a beautiful place. I was born there, actually. I have a long personal connection to Burlington. And in April of 2024, I watched the solar eclipse from Burlington, which was an incredible experience. Listeners, if you get a chance to visit Burlington, Vermont, go check it out. You're going to love it. Anyway, Bob Stiller, so I don't know why, but I had to talk about it. Every time Burlington comes up, I have to fucking sell the shit out of Burlington.
Well, you don't want people to have a wrong idea with this Bob character
Yeah.
sponsoring.
Well, he's not even. So Bob Stiller was okay for a while. In 1972, he co-founded a brand called Easy Wider. You ever use Easy Widers?
I can't even imagine what that's for.
Well, I'll tell you, I personally contributed many dollars to Easy Wider during the mid 2000s in college. It's a brand of rolling papers, which I used to roll joints with. And they were really good papers. They lived up to their name. They were easy to use, check, and they were wider than most other rolling papers. So check, pretty good papers. Good job, Bob Stiller, making those.
Checks out with Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, exactly. He was sort of a hippie guy. I mean, he's into transcendental meditation in the 70s, and this is the kind of guy that he was up until later in the story. We'll talk about it, but I'm not the only one who liked Easy Widers because his company did very well, and in 1982, Bob Stiller had enough money to found a new company called Green Mountain Coffee Roasters.
Oh, this place.
That one you've heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy is really good at making very popular businesses that sell one or the other kind of drug paraphernalia. So it started as a chain of coffee shops with sort of like a hippie ethos. And, they had like solar panels on their factory roof. They had eco-friendly paper cups. They served fair trade coffee from about the earliest time that fair trade coffee as a concept existed. They composted.
How is this going to turn into Keurig? Did they get bought by Kraft or what? This seems the opposite of the ethos here.
Keurig's about to get bought by Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, actually, and Bob Stiller is about to find out that having a shitload of money is a lot more fun than composting your coffee beans.
No.
Yeah.
That is a terrible progression of the storyline.
It's a perfect indictment of the hippie ethos. I think it's like an exact microcosm for what happened to most of that whole generation. So it's really cool. Yeah, and they were growing fast, throughout the 70s or throughout the 80s, and it seems like Bob Stiller was pretty good at running he was pretty good at the nuts and bolts of running a company, right? He's like pretty competent. And we'll leave Bob Stiller there for a moment with his rapidly growing coffee business making inroads throughout New England, and turn to another character in our story, John Sylvan. So in the mid 80s, John Sylvan has recently graduated from Colby College with a degree in engineering, and he's working in a semiconductor company. He's doing marketing in a semiconductor company in Norwalk, Massachusetts. He's he's just above an intern level in 1985 at this semiconductor company. And when you're low on the totem pole like this, you sometimes have to do random jobs that nobody else wants to do. So one of these random jobs that they give to John Sylvan is sometimes when the coffee delivery guy comes to deliver the coffee beans to the office manager will be like, "Hey, John Sylvan, go around the office and get everybody to chip in money so we could pay for this coffee." Which sounds like the fucking dumbest system. Why are they doing it this way? I don't know.
They didn't have a coffee budget for some beans?
Right. The company apparently absolutely did not want to pay for coffee, but they couldn't even get it together to be like, oh, the coffee's going to come today. It's Tuesday, right? Every time the coffee came, they were like, "Oh no, somebody brought us coffee. Now we have to find money for it."
That's just what happens. This ship just comes up from Brazil and it lands when it lands, and you need to read the telegraph
You never
polls
know.
to figure it out.
There's a guy on a donkey, and he's got to get that, he's got to keep that donkey moving. It's burning a hole in his pocket. We got to pay for this coffee right now. I don't know. I don't know. So that's one problem that this office has, is that they have a shit stupid coffee delivery system. Another problem is that the coffee in this office is usually terrible because it just sits around on the hot plate for hours and gets baked black, and it smells like paint thinner, and nobody wants to drink it. Right, because nobody ever like makes coffee when coffee needs to be made. So John Sylvan starts to think, well, what if you could walk into the office kitchen and just make one single cup of coffee? Wouldn't that be great? You know, then he'd never have to deal with like that psychopath Deborah from accounts who brews hazelnut coffee in the regular coffee pots, and then so one time you took your first sip of coffee at a big meeting and spat it all out all over the boardroom table because it was hazelnut flavored, right? And we would be free from the paint thinner, and because each cup of coffee would be freshly brewed. It was a nice little fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see the benefit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, also, can't they just brew a new pot of coffee? Just like, like a small four cupper, have a friend, talk through some engineering problems. I'm sure there's plenty of engineering problems that they could have two people with 2 mugs of coffee talk over.
That's a great point, Xiao. Because right, because like they didn't really have a problem. They didn't really have a problem with the coffee technology, right? They have a problem with the office culture.
Right. Like, it seems like the whole point of having like a coffee at an office is you get some interactions with your coworkers.
Yes, and this is why I think, in a weird way, I think the origins of the Keurig coffee brewer, because this is the guy who's going to go on to invent Keurigs. The problems can be traced directly to the dissolution of labor solidarity in the United States. Because like if we see our coworkers as comrades, we're working shoulder to shoulder with our coworkers, then it's not so difficult to keep the coffee fresh. You just make coffee when coffee needs to be made, and you make new coffee when the old coffee is too old, right? It's just like you help each other by doing things that need to get done. It's only when we see our coworkers as like strangers who are competing with us, a lot of whom we hate, that it makes sense to invent a single serving coffee machine.
Right, exactly. It's like, like even if you didn't want to waste coffee, you could go, "Hey Dan, let's go get some coffee." And like
Exactly.
make 2 cups. It's fine. Like
Which you and I
drip
did
coffees. Yeah.
you and I and large groups of people at the company that we worked at together did many times. It was a social thing.
Yes.
Um,
Anyway.
Anyway, so
This
is
entire reasoning makes me angry about why
Same.
he needed, like, I need coffee just for myself and no one else can have it.
yeah. I mean, it's mutually assured piss water because everybody in the office is thinking that way. He's not even a coffee guy. Like he doesn't even like coffee that much. He's just like wishes it didn't taste so bad. So anyway, he quits his job. By the early 90s, he's quit his job and he's building a contraption in his house that is like a cross between a Mr. Coffee and a pressure cooker. And he calls up his old college roommate, Peter Dragone, 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 right?
Sure.
I'm gonna say
I
Dragone.
don't know. I mean, what sounds more badass? I'm sure that guy would like
Dragon.
it.
Peter Dragony. Well, we don't have to say his name that many times, so I can say Dragony. So Peter Dragony at this time is working as director of finance for Chiquita. The banana producer that overthrew the Guatemalan government in 1954. That one.
Oh no. It's all the worst imperial companies all combined.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't enter into the story, but I just like to mention that every time Chiquita banana comes up because it's important for everybody to know. Anyway, he quits his job and he goes to John Sylvan calls up Peter Dragony and he's like, Peter, listen, I've got this amazing opportunity for you. I've invented a metal box that can sometimes make a substance that's technically coffee, but also sometimes explodes and launches jets of boiling hot bean gruel in a 270-degree arc all over my apartment. And Peter's like, hell yeah, man. This sounds wicked profitable. I'm in.
I mean, why not? Like, send it to all your enemies. Like, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I've invented a non-lethal bomb. Yeah, I don't know, but they're into it. They're like, hell yeah, let's do it. They're equal partners. They're gonna do it. The name Keurig, by the way, which is how they pronounce it, Keurig. It comes from Dutch. It's just like the first marketable seeming word John Sylvan found when he opened up a Dutch to English dictionary to the entry for excellence. Because like most words in Dutch are not marketable. They're like Vorstmisdachen. You can't sell that. So the Keurig, that's pretty marketable. As far as I can tell, it means something more like elegant or dainty. And in Dutch, it would be pronounced, I think, Keurig. Keurig.
I mean,
Here, let's listen to the Google Translate lady say it.
Keurig. Keurig.
Imagine trying to get Americans to say Keurig that way. They'd shove you in a fucking locker. So we call it Keurig.
yeah, I mean, while we're destroying coffee, let's destroy another language. Why not?
Oh yeah, that's what we do in English. So yeah, Keurig is what they call it. So they're working very hard to build this single serving coffee brewer for like a decade. They're traveling all over trying to sell these things to offices. One time they bring it cross country for a demo, and their experimental little coffee pods explode all over the baggage compartment of the airplane. Nowadays they'd be pulled off the plane and strip searched and beaten, but this was a pre 9/11 world, so they got to go free.
Wait, so they started trying to sell these when it was still like a coffee bomb in the making?
Well, so I think they had got that problem worked out, but the pods are now sealed and they have like when you put a sealed thing, when it goes under a pressure, when there's like a pressure differential in the airplane, like a packet of chips sometimes does, right?
Yeah.
But so I don't know if you can bring Keurig pods on a plane now. Somebody should look into that. But at one point in the 90s, John Sylvan is sitting in his parked car in Brookline, Massachusetts, and he starts to feel lightheaded, and he starts to have heart palpitations and tunnel vision, and he ends up going to the ER. And a doctor checks him out for like serious problems. They x-ray his chest. They don't find anything wrong with his body. And then the doctor asks him, "Do you drink coffee?" He's like, yeah, I drink coffee." "Oh, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day?" Like 30 to 40.
Wait, what? That is an insane amount of coffee.
He's testing it. Because it's his job to taste the coffee and test it when it comes out of the machine. So he's drinking like 40 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah, but like, this is a solved problem. Like, coffee roasters do coffee cupping where they spit out the coffee after tasting it.
I guess, yeah, he didn't get the memo about that. Right,
Okay,
just open up like a free coffee stand in front of your office and just give people free coffee. No guarantees that it won't taste terrible. Yeah, so he has caffeine poisoning, which is something I didn't even really know you could get.
Yeah, I mean, how did he not have heart palpitations before this day?
Right? I get heart palpitations. I have heart palpitations right now just thinking about drinking 40 cups of coffee. I don't know. That's business. That's what you got to do if you want to be in business. We're not serious enough to understand. So at this point in the 90s, like they're not even up to like the early aughts. Keurig is not even thinking about making devices for homes that people could use to make coffee. They're office focused only. Their first unit is like way too big for a home countertop, and it costs $900, and it has to be hooked up to a water line. So it's just for offices. And so, like, to the extent that the founders are thinking about environmental impact at this point, and they are thinking about environmental impact, but they're able to convince themselves that their invention is environmentally neutral because it limits the number of like Dunkin' Donuts runs that people have to do from the office, and they're whenever they go to Dunkin' Donuts, they're getting the styrofoam coffee cups, so it limits the number of disposable coffee cups that people have to toss out. Is the idea?
Okay, so instead of tossing a giant styrofoam cup, we're tossing. I'm assuming they're still using the plastic little K cups at this point for this Keurig, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like we'll trade a big styrofoam cup for a little plastic cup with organic stuff that will never decompose because it's inside plastic.
Yeah. Don't worry. They fixed the environmental story and it's totally fine now. They solved all these problems. So that's it. That's the whole episode. No. It gets worse. So Keurig starts to get investors, and this is where Bob Stiller comes in. So he starts to get investors in the They start to get investors in the mid-90s. One of their first investors is Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, which is Bob Stiller's company, the rolling papers guy from before. And it quickly becomes clear that John Sylvan is not capable of playing nice with the new investors. I'm not sure exactly what he disagrees with them about. He's been kind of tight-lipped about this part of the adventure, but it sounds like Bob Stiller wants to take Keurig in a different direction, perhaps a more profitable direction, perhaps a less environmentally neutral direction, and that may have had something to do with Sylvan's departure, because in 1997, Sylvan gets forced out of Keurig, sells his stake for $50,000. Which yeah, he gets $50,000 for all his stock. Whoops. He sounds a little bitter when he talks in interviews now, which I understand because I don't think he's very bitter, but like, man, all you get is $50,000. You like accidentally ruin the ecosystem, and all you get is $50,000. It seems like a bad deal.
Yeah, I mean, you should at least, ruin the environment for a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get way more than that for ruining the environment. It's a hot market. Yeah, so Peter Dragoni also exits around this time, but he keeps his shares and eventually he gets rich. He's like some sort of finance guy now. All right, but let's talk about this pod. Let's talk about the pod. The pod's where it's at. So the pod is the thing that actually Keurig makes its money on, right? The machines, they sell the machines for cheap. Sometimes they even lose money on the machines. And that's okay. That's part of the plan because they make that money back selling an absolutely unconscionable number of these pods at a great margin. It's like how if remember this Scantron episode, Scantron sells the machines for cheap. They sell the sheets for a good markup. Razor blades, right?
Yeah, and they try and stop you from making those reusable things, right? Like I remember there was a company that made reusable K-cups and then they disappeared. I'm assuming they got sued out of oblivion.
They may have gotten sued. They may have gotten bought. There were a few of them. Keurig spent the mid 2000s. We'll get to it, but they spent the mid 2000s running everybody who could possibly be in competition with them out of business, and that was a large part of it. They did do some lawsuits, so it's totally possible. Yeah, they do not want. Well, their patent. So like the patent is filed in 1992. So they have until 2012 to make a big profit on it and like corner that market. And it's already like 2006 by the time they get bought by Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. So they're running out of time. Anyway, the patent. So the patent is patent 5325765, application filed in September 1992 by John Sylvan and Peter Dragoni. And they'd set out to build this like single beverage brewer where the coffee's actually brewed on demand, right? It was never going to be, they didn't want instant coffee like they have in the coffee vending machines because they wanted people to like be willing to drink it. So the process for brewing this coffee needed to work fast. Like a person needs to be able to go through the whole process of making coffee within about 1 minute, ideally less than 1 minute. I think it takes about 30 seconds nowadays to brew a Keurig coffee once you've done it a few times.
Is this 1 minute just something they imposed on themselves, or
Yeah,
they're just like, oh, companies are not gonna buy this if like we're getting their workers to like take 2 minutes out of their workday for coffee?
that's possible because they were really selling it on the basis that like people would spend more time in the office and not so they'd be more productive. So that's probably a large part of it. Another large part of it is just you can only make one at a time. So if it takes if it takes 5 minutes to make a regular pot of coffee and you can serve five people with it, then it needs to take 1 minute to make a Keurig pot of cup of coffee if it only serves one person. Otherwise, you're wasting more time. Yeah, so that it needs to be done fucking fast, which you can't do if you're scooping beans, grinding beans, setting up filters, pouring water. Keurig users do not have time for shit like that. So to make the process fast, the Sylvan and Dragoni want to use highly pressurized water to help the brewing process go faster. And so they invent this single serving coffee pod, as we know it, the K cup, that is fully sealed for freshness. It's rigid enough to not squish when you puncture it with a needle. It doesn't melt or explode when it's filled with boiling hot pressurized water. So pretty, took some doing to make that happen.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was pressurized and everything. I thought it was just
It's not anymore.
like a drip coffee type thing. Yeah, that
It
makes
is.
sense to make it go faster.
They thought they were going to have to. So, according to Keurig now, their coffee brews at like 0.95 atmospheres or something. It's about room pressure. When they filed the patent, they thought they were going to have to use like highly pressurized water, but nowadays they don't do that. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that it almost sounds like it would have been a better product, because then at least it would have been like you get
Yeah.
espresso ish.
Right, it goes. It's a
Yeah,
little fun rather than
yeah,
the Keurig, which just goes like. It's anyway. I don't know that they didn't. They decided they didn't need to use the high pressure. So it has the pod has three components. It has a base, which is a little flat bottomed plastic bowl with a flat lip across the top edge. It's got a cover, which the patent envisions as like a domed lid that seals to the lip of the base, but the modern K cup just has a piece of foil instead of a lid, right? And then finally, a filter, which is basically just a little paper cup that hangs down partway into the base and is filled with some coffee grounds, and it gets like sealed in with the lid. When the lid gets sealed into the pod, the edge of the filter gets sealed in there, so it doesn't move, and it's packed with coffee grounds. That's all a K cup is. I bought one at the corner store and took it apart at my kitchen table to confirm. That's all that's in there. The guy at the corner store raised an eyebrow when I paid for a single decaf Keurig cup and then just shoved it in my pocket instead of using their machine to brew it. But I'm sure he's seen stranger things. It's a corner store.
yeah. I'm sure that's not the weirdest thing that guy's seen that day.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, a convenience store in East Rock, New Haven. You see very different people all day. The guy who shoved a decaf Keurig coffee pot in his pocket. You don't even remember. So it's all right. Yeah, but I took it apart. That's what it is. And the lid. They also they flush it with nitrogen gas right before they seal it, so that the coffee doesn't get stale. Right?
Okay, I mean that's actually more than I thought they would do for those K cups. So I mean, at least they're like, we're gonna try and make this like. I mean, I've never had a K cup that tasted amazing, so I don't know where all this technology's doing. But like, at least they thought about trying to make it good.
It doesn't. They never needed it to taste amazing, right? They just needed it to not taste like piss, and it doesn't. Keurig coffee doesn't taste like piss. It tastes like somebody read the Wikipedia page on coffee and then made, I don't know. It tastes like it tastes normal. It tastes like as central, like 5 out of 10 coffee, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 4
And
out of 10.
I mean, it will. I will say it is nice when I've stayed at Airbnbs where it's like, okay, like there's a coffee machine, quote unquote, and
Yeah.
it's a tiny space and that's all they can fit, which is fine. Like it has its uses, but it's kind of annoying that like people are starting to use K cups just like in daily life now,
Yes.
where it's like they could have a regular coffee, but it's a K cup.
Yes. And that B&B, before they had Keurig machines, they could have come up with, there was some other, we had something for this, right? Before there was there might be a coffee shop across the street. They might have, like, there's a lot of different ways to make to make people who stay in your B&B happy. Yeah, it certainly doesn't necessitate this catastrophe. So the lid is sealed against the base, airtight with an adhesive, like I said. And so you use the Keurig machine, you put the pod, you put the pod in the little pod-shaped slot, you pull down a lever, and it goes ka-chunk, and then that seals the machine shut and pierces the pod with 2 needles. One needle goes into the pod from above, one comes in from below, and then you press brew. And when you press brew, the top needle shoots hot water into the grounds, extracts the coffee rapidly. Coffee goes through the filter and into the empty base, and then the needle at the bottom sucks the coffee out and spits it into your mug. Yum, coffee. And so that's pretty straightforward. But they specify the K cup in the patent. They specify the K cup's base has to be made of polystyrene, or could be made of polystyrene, ethylene vinyl alcohol, and polyethylene, which is 3 plastics. That's a lot of plastics, but apparently it wasn't enough because Keurig actually ended up adding a 4th kind of plastic in development for reasons that are obscure. And so this mix of plastics has ensured that these things will absolutely never be eco-friendly. Like,
Wait, so it's not just one plastic, it's like multiple layers of different plastics in these cups?
it's a bunch of layers of different plastics, yeah.
Wow, that feels over-engineered. But who am I to say? Maybe this is what causes their K-cups to not explode hot coffee all over your faces.
It is. I think they could not. I think they were unable to achieve what they achieved without this many plastics. Which is sad because, if you have 4 plastics all alloyed together, that's not a recyclable thing. You have built something that can never ever be recyclable at scale.
Right. Like, even if someone was like, I'm going to disassemble this K cup, scoop out the grounds, and compost it, and then try and recycle it, not possible.
Not really possible. We'll talk about how they've tried to. I don't know. It was always been a pipe dream. And so each time you drink one, you throw a K cup in the trash. If you end up making a dozen coffees throughout the day, you've thrown a dozen K cups in the trash, and probably so is everyone else in your office. So your trash is just full of these unrecyclable garbage things. So this wastefulness, this non-recyclability has remained an albatross around Keurig's neck to this day, because every time Keurig gets mentioned in the press, even if it's an article about how incredibly successful this Keurig brand is, the writer always has to say something about how wasteful the pods are and how they're not recyclable. Like, reporters are constantly asking them about this. They just can't get any purely positive press, right? No matter what they do. And they no matter what they do, they can't make the product environmentally friendly. It's just not possible. It's not that kind of object. I don't know. I just feel like if you're as a consumer, if you can't get it together to brew a pot of coffee in a drip machine, or if the only way you'll drink coffee at home is if your grandson buys you a Keurig machine for Christmas, maybe you just don't like coffee that much, right?
Yeah, this all goes back to the like, this does not feel like a problem that needed to be solved.
Right,
Like someone that only needs one cup of coffee and don't want to make it. Maybe they're more of a tea person. Maybe they should
right.
branch out and try some other hot beverages.
Try some other hot beverages. There's lots of things that can perk you up in the morning, the legal or illegal. Pick your poison. People
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like stop all these people who don't really like coffee enough to brew it could just stop drinking coffee and then maybe Keurig could just sell the pods directly to the landfills. That's a business model.
Yeah, why not?
Everybody's about growth. So for a while, at least, nobody's heard of Keurig. Nobody's writing about them. But in 2006, Keurig gets acquired by Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, like we talked about. And there's a marked shift in Keurig's focus at this time, from the office market to the home market. The corporate mission becomes a Keurig brewer on every counter and a beverage for every occasion, which is a horrible vision. And in order to achieve this horrible vision, they're going to need to make the machines way smaller and way cheaper, which takes about 6 years of research. And it's around this time, this from 2006 to 2012, that Bob Stiller is just living it the fuck up, man. He buys and renovates a 164-foot yacht. He snaps up Tom Brady's old apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan for a cool 17.5 million smackaroonies, along with at least two properties in and around Palm Beach, Florida, totaling around 18 million additional smackaroonies. And he's this like former composting, Deepak Chopra loving rolling paper man who's finally gotten some real spending money and is instantly transformed into a complete asshole. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's one guy that's destroying the environment the right way by enriching himself.
Yeah, at least have some fun with it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder what that transformation's like for like just like everyone close to him even being like,
Yeah, Bob,
what? Did you have a stroke? What happened here?
you have a near-death experience and decide that what really matters in life is being mega rich.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's wild. But tragically, Bob Stiller's love affair with billionairehood was cut short in May of 2012 because, like, all this money he's been spending is not actually his money. He's got a ton of Green Mountain stock, but it's in lockup. He can't sell it. So instead, he had to have that yacht right fucking now, right? So he's taken out huge loans with his Green Mountain shares as collateral on the loans. But in 2012, the value of the stock plummets, and which would be fine if he hadn't taken out the loans. But now the banks that loaned them the money are like, hey, we'd like more collateral, please, Bob. And Bob's like, well, I don't have any more money. All my money is borrowed from you, and I don't think I can make a profit selling this yacht in the next month. So, well, I don't know what you want me to do. And the banks are like, well, why don't you just sell some of your Green Mountain shares? Why, And Bob's like, well, I can't sell my Green Mountain shares. They're in lockup. That would be illegal. And the banks are like, but that sounds like a you problem. Tough shit. So Bob ends up losing a huge amount of money. He's no longer a billionaire. He gets forced out of the leadership of Green Mountain, which I love. I love this story. Yeah. It's not like you don't get to see billionaires losing everything anymore. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, that's crazy that like he like well one that there was consequences actually for someone that rich
Right?
for once, but also like this makes me wonder even more about what happened to him to go from like this crunchy hippie dude to like I'm just gonna like accumulate all this like yachts and like wealth porn
Tom
and
Brady's
then to lose
apartment.
all of it, yeah, without even being able to keep any of it.
I know. He's a fascinating character, and the Champlain College School of Business is still named after him. if you want to know more about Bob Stiller, you could try reading his 2020 business book that he wrote that he's been hawking about how to run a successful business.
Does it end like right at the yacht buying? It's like, and that's how I got my yacht. The end.
I would assume so. I would assume so. I haven't. Whenever he's on interviews, whenever he does interviews, the reporter always has to say, "This is Bob Stiller. Bob became a billionaire in the in the early 2000s with Keurig." They can't say this is billionaire Bob Stiller because he's not.
Ooh, yeah, that's awkward.
Fascinating guy. So Bob Stiller is succeeded as CEO by Brian Kelly, a former Coca-Cola executive. And this is right about when Keurig's value goes stratospheric. Right after that dip that bankrupted Bob Stiller, the line starts going way, way, way up. Between in the 27 months from June 2012 to September of 2014, Green Mountain's stock price rises by a factor of 8. The Keurig machine is so successful that in 2014, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters changes its name to Keurig Green Mountain, which incidentally is a juxtaposition of two things that can't really coexist in the world.
Look, as long as they paint those K-cups green, we will have
that's
an
true.
entire dump of Green Mountains.
That would have been that's what I call greenwashing.
Yeah, they should pay me in K-cups so that I can never use them.
What am I going to do with all this space in my basement? By 2015, there's a Keurig brewer in almost 1 in 3 American homes.
1 in 3? That is insane.
Isn't that insane? Wild.
I'm trying to
Wild.
think of like my friends. I mean, they must be weirdly distributed. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean they're mostly distributed. I would imagine in the middle of the country. Is just my guess. In Canada, it's even more. I think Canada, it's like 40%.
Okay, so that part I can actually understand. I did a road trip up through Canada, and like some of those parts are like insanely remote, where like
Yes.
you can't get anything there, and it's like okay, like I get it if like your only access to coffee is like you go to Costco once a year and
Yeah.
you have to buy these sealed things so they don't go bad. But
Sure.
like, yeah.
1 in 3 American homes. Yeah, it's a very like gee whiz, sharper image kind of product. I mean, like I can't prove this, but I think the number of people buying Keurig brewers for themselves is pretty small. It's mainly a gift that people give to other people, right?
Yeah.
You need to get a Christmas gift for your dad, and you know your dad drinks like pre-ground Folgers that he makes in a rickety old Mr. Coffee that he hasn't washed in years. So you decide to drag him into the 21st century with a shiny new Keurig machine, right? And it's perfect. This is like exactly the right kind of consumption for a thing like Keurig, because if you're considering buying a Keurig machine for yourself, you might think holistically about the place of coffee in your life, about like what a Keurig machine would be replacing for you, whether you want to give that up. You might think about how expensive the coffee pods are. The New York Times estimates the cost of K-Cups at about $50 per pound of coffee, as opposed to about $20 per pound for traditional coffee.
What?
You
That
might
is- yeah.
yeah, it's right. Yeah, and people are just you just set up an Amazon. You just like set up an Amazon recurring order for it, and they just keep coming. Right. So, but if you're getting a Keurig for yourself, you have to think about all that stuff. But if you're getting a Keurig as a gift that's nifty for somebody to open at Christmas, like you don't have to consider any of that. You're just buying it for your friend or your loved one. You're buying them the gift of modern convenience. I don't know. I just think that the absurd popularity of Keurigs as a gift really shows how little we think of each other.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. It's like, here you go. Now find a place for this on your countertop. I
Yep.
did my part with the giant box with the ribbon on it.
Exactly. Isn't it shiny? It's so shiny, isn't it? You're welcome.
Man, I mean, It's like the Scantron thing all over again. It's just like I can't believe how much they're overcharging for these cups.
And you can do that if you own all the factories. So they're growing meteorically, right? And their image problems are just getting exponentially worse. They're constantly reported on how bad their environmental impact is. So to combat this, in 2011, Keurig launches the ineptly named Grounds to Grow On program. Very clunky name. Do not like it. They should have hired somebody to come up with a better name. This is a program where they'll ship you empty boxes for your office that you can toss your used K cups in. And when the box is full, you pack it up and you ship it off to Keurig's facility, and they'll recycle the pods for you.
But like how if it's all these plastics that are not recyclable?
Great question, Xiao. So it's the way they do it is they make the false claim that they're recycling the pods. What they do is they to get them all at the facility, they disassemble the K cup, they compost the coffee grounds, and then they take the leftover plastic base and the foil lid and they throw them in a big incinerator run by a company called Covanta to turn them into electrical energy.
I'm sure the people around there are like loving the fact that they're just burning plastics
Well, all the people,
right next to
yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
bad can come of that.
Yeah, I mean, Covanta. I didn't have time to talk about Covanta, but they've been racking up emissions fines and labor relations fines. Also, none of this is good.
Yeah, I mean it's not exactly surprising when your business model is we will take your plastic and then burn it.
And we've constructed a model where somebody will say thank you, thank you for burning my plastic. Here's millions of dollars.
Yeah, okay, that is wild. Okay, that is one way to recycle, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, recycling with quotes. So yeah, so in their 2013 sustainability, it's not like it's even that big of a even if it were an eco-friendly process. In their 2013 sustainability report, Keurig proudly announced that 4.7 million K cups were recovered that year through their Grounds to Grow On program. That's 4.7 million with an M. This is out of the 8.3 billion with a B K cups
What?
that were made that year.
Wow. Okay.
So they reclaimed about a 20th of a percent of these things from landfills and instead put them through an incinerator to settle as dust in our cities and lungs.
Okay, that's amazing that they even brought that number up in their report.
Yeah, just don't mention it.
Like, yeah, they might as well be like, yeah, Mary in Portland, she like disassembles the K cups and dumps the grounds in her
In her garden.
vegetable garden like every day.
Yeah, yeah.
She brought at least 3 boxes last year.
Hey, everybody's got to put in the work. That's how we do Grounds to Grow On. I mean, it was never the point was never to like actually be eco-friendly, right? They must have known from their engineer. They have engineers working there. They must have known from the very beginning this was never going to do anything. But they get to talk to every time a reporter asks them about their environmental problems. They can say, "Oh, well, we have this Grounds to Grow On program." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, which is amazing that they didn't have a snappier name because it is only for
Holy
marketing.
shit! Right, come up with something good. They came up with a better name for it eventually, but it's still not good.
But like presumably they just like are keeping this going, recycling like I don't know, 0.01% of their cups
Yeah,
still.
at most. Yeah. Well, so they eventually they get like local recycling programs to do it, but most recyclers in the country still don't accept K cups or they're salty about it because.
Right.
But one of the problems with it is they're too small and and like rigid, and so they like gum up the machines. They get like they shatter and they get into the machines and they make the machines stop working.
Right. Congrats, your multi-million-dollar plastic recycling machine now has coffee grounds in it
Right.
and is rested. You're welcome.
Oh no no no! If you do want to recycle them, you still have to peel the lid off yourself, dump the grounds out, and put the pod in your recycling bin, which I'm sure many people are doing.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone that sees a flyer from their town that's like, you can now recycle K cups. Do that religiously, rinse them out without reading any of the fine print of what you need to do.
I'll do an episode on recycling. So that's such a big topic, but I gotta do an episode on recycling sometime because there's a whole scam there. I'm not saying recycling is as a whole is a scam, but it's like there's some bad uses of technology.
Anyway, like I can't believe like municipalities that run recycling centers are willing to go along with this idea of like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, just tell people you can toss K cups in there, and like now they gotta hire some poor schmuck that's like raking through all the plastic recycling stream to fish out K cups with the foil still on there. And, man, it seems like a nightmare.
it is a nightmare.
But hey, I guess at least they got their greenwashing on.
Yeah, you got to do something. It helps. It helps. It helps the environment and people's imaginations, and that's what matters. So Keurig is hugely successful from through about 2014, 2015. But one of the tricky things about Keurig's business model is they're selling the machine at a low margin, like we said, and they're making it back up on the pods. If you can pump out billions of cheap coffee pods and sell them at a huge profit margin, so can anybody else, right? And to make matters worse, your competitors can just make pods. You have to make the machines, which are very expensive to make. Their customers already have Keurig machines, and so your competitors can massively undercut you. And this is exactly what happens. So when the K-Cup patent expires in 2012, companies move in right away and they start selling their own Keurig compatible pods for like 20, 30% less, which is an existential threat for Keurig. They cannot survive without the huge sales volume on the pods. Otherwise, they're just making machines that lose money. So they need to solve this, but they've got a few tricks up their sleeve. 4 tricks, in fact. Trick 1: vertical integration. Make sure nobody can make competing pods because Keurig owns all the suppliers and distributors, or at least has exclusivity agreements with them. Great, smart. Trick 2: horizontal integration, which just means any competitors you can't lock out, you buy up. Trick 3: sue anybody that you can't buy, which Keurig does, for example, in 2012 to Sturm Foods, a Canadian brand which was making a competing kind of pod. And then there's trick 4, the dirtiest trick and least effective of all. So in the fall of 2014, KGM, Keurig Green Mountain, launches their newest home brewer, the Keurig 2.0, which is a beautiful, sleek, shiny device with a fancy color LCD display. Looks great on it. It looks great at a Williams Sonoma. Looks great at a sharper image. And the really cool thing about the Keurig 2.0, the like disruptive innovation that it brings to the market, is that if you try to brew a pod not licensed by the Keurig Green Mountain,
Oh no.
the fancy color display will tell you, quote, "Oops, this pack wasn't designed for this brewer. Please try one of the hundreds of packs with the Keurig logo."
Oh no.
What do they think
So
of
now
next?
they got like RFIDs and like some other bullshit on these K cups now?
Well, they haven't talked about it. They never said how it worked. But yes, it's DRM. Your coffee has DRM now.
Right, because like these two needles cannot possibly poke through any other piece of foil.
You might get bad coffee. But the coffee might not be up to Keurig quality standards. That was their main justification. It's like, we're protecting you from imitators that might have bad coffee or like not have as high safety standards as our licensed pods do.
Right. So, like, how long till they start, like, putting expiration dates on these pods and go, oh, you bought this box more than 3 weeks ago. Better get a new fresh box for that fresh coffee taste.
They did force people to get fresh ones because people would go out and buy these new Keurig machines, and they'd get home because we've made people accustomed to buying the newest model of every gadget they own, right? And so they go out and they buy the new Keurig, and they get home and they go to make coffee, and it doesn't even work with the pods they already have.
Oh, man. How are they coming up with these, like, actual things that, like, I'm trying to make fun of, and, like, they're even worse? Like,
It's even
how does your product not even work with your own product?
They should make you CEO of Keurig. You've got better ideas than fucking Brian Kelly, who in 2015, in addressing this controversy, said, quote, "We underestimated the emotion behind having old pods. The strength of that emotion is something we learned, and we certainly learned it, and we'll do better next time." Which is such a, like, mealy-mouthed, squirmy way to say this. Like, just say, we're sorry we made a mistake. Or even better, say, we had to put profit ahead of customer satisfaction. Tough shit. I just wish CEOs would say what they mean sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows, like, the whole idea behind it. Like, you don't need to hide it behind, like, corporate speak. It's like,
We get it.
Okay, like, we get it. You want these machines that only brew your cups, and you didn't think of this 5 years ago when you made these cups that I have in my, like, cupboard.
Right, you haven't invented anything
Yeah.
since 1992, and now your patents run out, so you've got to blame all of us. Yeah, it sucks. It really, really sucks. And I mean, immediately, like, just like every other kind of DRM scheme, Keurig's shit was hacked immediately. And just a handful of days after the release of the Keurig 2.0, an anonymous YouTube video was posted showing how to get around the new protections. And it's hilariously trivial. You don't even have to know how the protection works. It's built into the K-Cup's lid, so you can just simply take the lid from another official K-Cup and stick it on top of your illegal pirate K-Cup, and no more oops, right? The video actually goes a step further, and they show you how to trim a little slice off an official pod and tape it to the inside of the machine, right where the sensor is.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's very cool.
That is ingenious. That makes sense, I guess. I mean, it can't be that complicated because they're manufacturing, like, what, billions of these K-Cups.
Exactly.
So you can't have something where it's like, oh, everything's got a unique serial with a, encryption key.
Yeah. There's not a microprocessor in there. Yeah, it's a wild story. I mean, the thing got almost all 1-star reviews, Amazon reviews, and 80% of the 1-star reviews were about the how bullshit the new DRM scheme was. And I could find very little reporting on how the DRM actually worked, but The Verge reported in 2014 that a Keurig representative told them at a trade show that it had something to do with infrared light. So I did a quick patent search for the key terms infrared, ink, and foil, which turned up an international patent for infrared reflective ink film and tape assigned to a company called Sun Chemical. So I went down the Sun Chemical rabbit hole a bit, and lo and behold, Keurig Green Mountain took Sun Chemical to court in 2017. As far as I can tell, their relationship was never reported in the press, but I found a summary judgment in this court case on Pacer, which has a lot of juicy info. Keurig licensed Sun Chemical's infrared reflective ink for their new K-Cup DRM scheme, and then they later sued Sun Chemical because Keurig's competitors had figured out how to make unlicensed pods that worked in the new machines anyway. So it seems like Keurig suspected that Sun Chemical had violated their exclusivity agreement and sold their special ink to Keurig's competitors. It's not clear whether they actually did that or not. Most of the records from the court case are sealed, so we'll never know. But I suspect that's what happened.
Okay, so it's just like, okay, we got some IR reflective ink, and as long as you got like 3 red dots here or whatever, like it'll work.
Yes. Who knew? Wow, how could that possibly be broken by hackers?
You can't see with your bare eyes. It's not possible.
Right. Nobody will know. Nobody will know what it. Nobody will look inside the machine and be like, "Oh, there's another photo tube in here. What's going on with that guy?"
Yeah. But okay, so at this point, like, are all Keurig cups still got this like
I don't
IR
know. I don't think so.
thing?
I think they phased it out because it wasn't working anyway. So why keep it? But I haven't tested one. Immediately, like basically within the year, they had rolled back the Keurig 2.0 fucking bombed, and they rolled back the whole concept because everybody hated it so much. So this is why by September of 2015, Keurig is hurting. The DRM thing has made everyone hate them, and also didn't work. So they're still getting constant bad press about how their discarded pods are congealing into a huge floating continent in the Pacific Ocean. But they still have a secret weapon. Here, Xiao, I'm going to play you this promotional video from July of 2015.
Wait, is that noodles? What? What? No. What? That is horrifying.
Xiao just went insane in 30 seconds from watching a single YouTube video. So, Xiao, tell the people what was in the video.
I guess instant noodles from Campbell's, but brewed in a K-cup somehow. I think my mind's still broken of like one, that they would think that anyone would want to do this, but two, like, I don't know. Actually, I've lost my train of thought. This is this is insane. Like,
it is. It's insane. Yeah. So it's a broth. They put like a broth powder in the K cup, and then you put the noodles in your mug, and you brew the soup right into your mug, and you drink the noodle soup out of your mug.
Right. It's like instant ramen, but like split up so that you have like the flavor packet all gunking up your K-cup tubes, presumably, for your next coffee.
It's an insane. I had never heard of this, and I lived such an innocent life before I saw this video.
Wait, so does this exist as a thing, or is this just a concept?
No, man. They did make them. But then they stopped making them because it's disgusting. Nobody wanted it. Yeah. Fucking wild.
I like to know what the next cup of coffee tastes like after someone
Oh God.
attempted this.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to solve the problem of the coffee tasting bad when it's made at the office and people let it sit around, and they accidentally invented a thing that made it taste like fucking chicken broth.
Yeah. Okay, this is...
Soup is really the coffee of foods, if you ask me. So this was supposed to be like the Hail Mary that was going to save the brand after the whole DRM thing. I mean, just Jesus fucking Christ. Keurig's whole thing is based on the narrative that people are too busy to make coffee, and they've got like important grown-up things to do, and they just can't spare a few seconds to make coffee. But like, just make coffee. You have time. It's okay. Just make coffee. And for God's sake, just make soup. Like, do not drink soup from a Keurig machine. Have some goddamn self-respect, people.
Right. I mean, the part of this is that, like, it's a Campbell's, like, soup. Like,
right.
It's already, like, you open a can and you add the same can of water in and you're done. Like, they already made, like, a pretty terrible soup product that is dead simple and easy to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, this is I man, capitalism like makes me very disappointed sometimes.
So it's so depressing. I yeah, I really think Keurigs are only appealing because of our alienation from one another and from our own humanity at a massive scale, which is what capitalism thrives on. Like the examples that are always given of Keurig use cases are things like uh, there's a there's a husband and a wife, and the wife likes hazelnut coffee, but she only ever makes regular coffee because her husband likes regular coffee. And finally, they have a Keurig machine and they can each make the kind of coffee they like. Or there's an office full of people who can't be bothered to lift a finger to make coffee, if it's going to benefit anyone else, like John Sylvan's '80s semiconductor experience, and the so the premise basically is any constraints imposed on your coffee consumption by your relationship with others are bad, and these little nitrogen puffed caffeine packets that make coffee that tastes slightly better than cardboard, we're going to finally free you from all those unfair constraints of people you love and care about. It's sick.
Yeah, that's crazy. That it's like, well, instead of maybe trying different things or like having like interpersonal relationships and like talking through something,
Yeah.
let's just mediate our way through this with technology that makes both our lives worse.
Yes. Let's instead of compromising, let's scatter trillions of plastic pods all over the ocean and land of the earth.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
so despite Keurig's promise in their 2014 sustainability report that all their K cups would be recyclable by 2020, that has of course not happened. Keurig has claimed since 2020 that their pods are recyclable, but just recently in September of 2024, they were fined by the SEC for saying their pods are recyclable because at least a third of recycling facilities in the US refuse to recycle K cups.
right, as they should.
Yeah, right.
Like, if your recycling is we toss it in an incinerator, it's not.
But no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like if you want to recycle these things, you gotta like peel the foil off with your fingernails and get like hot bean mixture under your fingernails. Like I said, I took one apart and that one was cold and that was hard. So this is pure. It's pure greenwashing. Always was.
But
In,
they're still saying they're recyclable even after they got fined by
I
the
think so.
FEC or
Last I knew,
like
they have a different kind. They have a different name for their program now, but it's still they're claiming they have some eco-friendly thing they do with it, which is not true. In 2018, Keurig merged with Dr. Pepper Snapple Group to become Keurig Dr. Pepper. Keurig, Dr. Pepper, and Snapple being sort of the three musketeers of beverages with declining popularity. And even Dr. Pepper and Snapple are too good for Keurig because in August of 2025 they announced plans to unwind the merger, leaving Keurig to fend for themselves.
wow. That's quite the story that like even I mean even Mr. Snapple realizes this is a bad idea. I guess all those fun facts really do teach Mr. Snapple some.
It's Reverend.
good
It's
info.
Reverend Snapple. It's Mr. Coffee, Dr. Pepper, and Reverend Snapple.
Okay.
Yeah. They just like, they're like we cannot deal with these fucking guys at Keurig. Yeah. So the Keurig machine is another one of these inventions where if it had never been invented, the world could have just gone on doing what it was doing and nobody would have like missed it in some cosmic way, right? As Darby Hoover, on behalf of the National Resources Defense Council, put it in an article way back in 2010, at some point you have to ask, do we need this product enough that we need to be trying to find all these different solutions for the components of it? Or can we just go back to the old way that we used to make coffee and it was good enough? Exactly right, Darby Hoover. Yeah. Exactly right.
That is amazing sentiment. It's like this entire episode is like really pissing me off. It's like stepping in. I knew about the whole like environmental thing, obviously, but it's just like all the reasonings that led up to it just makes no sense.
This is why, thank you for saying that, Xiao. This is why I make this podcast, is to piss my friends off about technological innovation.
Well, achievement unlocked.
I just think we need better tools as a society for keeping shit like this from coming into being, right? We can't just rely on what consumers are willing to pay for as a barometer of what should be produced. Because American consumers are so atomized and alienated from one another that we're willing to ignore almost all the social impacts of our buying decisions in exchange for a mild increase in convenience. So in 2016, the city of Hamburg, Germany, flat out banned coffee pods in government-run buildings, including many schools and universities, citing their environmental impact. You know, let's have some of that energy, please. It's the least we can do.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you would think that, like, one, like, it is so expensive buying all these pods. Like, you know, if we're gonna, like, try and make government efficient, maybe this is a way to do it. Just, like, stop buying all these pods, start, like, collaborating with each other.
Suddenly we have enough money to feed all the homeless people in our city. Right, because we were spending all that money on coffee pods.
Yeah. And then burning them right next door to recycle them, causing all these health issues everywhere.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing. So, Xiao, are you going to go out and run out and buy a Keurig?
Oh, yeah, and for everyone I know, because, like, I mean, I'm falling behind here on the 1 in 3 with Keurig machines around me. I gotta, up that ratio for this town.
They're losing market share. You need to buy like 30 or 40.
It's just so depressing. I don't know.
Good.
I don't know what to say.
That's the voice I love to hear from my guests. Just soak it up. Well, thank you for being a delightful guest, Xiao, and allowing me to siphon your life force with this horrible story. It's been a pleasure to talk about this ecological shit show with you.
I mean, I wish I could say the same, but I'm just gonna stew in that instant noodle in a Keurig video now for the rest of the day. So
yeah, stew in that.
For that.
Yeah. If anybody wants to say, it'll be in the show notes. If anybody wants to go see that YouTube video, check it out. It's amazing. And thank you, as always, to the real heroes, the listeners. You are heroes, and not just because you enjoy this show, but also because you give us the 5-star podcast reviews that we so desperately want and need, and also because you tell your friends to listen to this show. So thank you, heroes. If you're not following Tech Blows on TikTok or Technology Blows on YouTube yet, highly recommend hopping on there too. Join us in the 21st century. Until next week, I'm Dan Slimman, and this has been Technology Blows. Farewell.